There is something your doctor isn't telling you about why bread destroys your gut. For 6,000 years, humans ate bread as their primary food source. Entire civilizations were built on it. Medieval peasants consumed 3 pounds of bread every single day, 70% of their total calories, and their digestion was perfect. No bloating epidemics, no gluten sensitivity crisis, no inflammatory bowel disease affecting 1 in 100 people. Fast forward to today, one slice of toast and your stomach turns into a battlefield, bloating so severe you look 6 months pregnant, brain fog that makes thinking feel like wading through mud, energy crashes that leave you desperate for a nap by 2 p.m, and your doctor calls it IBS, calls it gluten intolerance, tells you your body is defective. They're wrong. In 1453, a German baker could eat 4 pounds of bread in a single day while hauling stones to build a cathedral. His gut was healthy, his energy was sustained, his bread had gluten. But his bread and your bread? They're not even the same food, not remotely. What changed wasn't your digestive system. What changed was the bread itself. And the reason why will make you furious. Drop a comment right now and tell us. What happens after you eat bread? Bloating? Fatigue? Brain fog? Stomach cramps? Let us know below, because what you're about to discover explains exactly why your body is treating bread like poison. 1961, Chorleywood, England. A laboratory filled with scientists working on a single problem. Bread takes too long to make. For thousands of years, bread required 12 to 24 hours from flour to finished loaf. Mixing, kneading, rising, more rising, baking. Too slow, too expensive, too unprofitable. So they invented a machine that would end bread as humans had known it for millennia. The Chorleywood bread process. The name sounds harmless, almost quaint. What it actually did was catastrophic. These industrial mixers don't need dough. They beat it into submission. Under violent pressure, they force gas into the dough in minutes, not hours. Then they add chemical dough conditioners, emulsifiers, preservatives, industrial yeast pumped with artificial accelerators, cheap low-protein wheat that traditional bakers would have thrown away. The result? From raw flour to plastic-wrapped supermarket loaf in 3 hours total. Not 24 hours, not 12 hours, 3. Within a decade, this method captured 80% of the UK bread market. It spread across Europe, to North America, everywhere. Bread became faster, cheaper, more profitable than ever in human history. And that's when the digestive epidemic began. Because they eliminated the one thing that made bread digestible, the one process that transformed wheat from an indigestible seed into actual food. Fermentation. And that missing step? It's destroying your gut right now. Here's what you need to understand. Wheat doesn't want to be eaten. It's a seed. It wants to survive long enough to become a plant, so nature gave it weapons. Chemical defense systems designed to make it indigestible. The most dangerous one is called phytic acid. Phytic acid acts like a bodyguard for the seed. It grabs onto minerals, iron, zinc, calcium, magnesium, and locks them up in a molecular cage. Your body can't access them. Even if you're eating nutrient-rich food, the phytic acid is starving you from the inside. Worse, it irritates your intestinal lining, triggering inflammation that cascades through your entire system. Your stomach has no defense against this compound. You can't break it down. You have no weapon. But medieval bread did. Walk into a medieval bakery at dawn. The smell hits you first. Sour, yeasty, alive. Because sitting in massive wooden troughs are lumps of dough that have been fermenting all night long. 12 hours, 18 hours, sometimes 24. The baker didn't use packets of commercial yeast. He used something alive. A culture of wild yeast and bacteria captured from the air, from the grain, from wooden bowls that had been used for generations. What we call sourdough starter. And during those long hours of fermentation, something magical happened. The bacteria woke up, billions of them. They started consuming the sugars in the flour. They produced lactic acid and acetic acid, and in that acidic environment, they activated enzymes called phytases. These enzymes dismantled the phytic acid molecule piece by piece. They broke down the seed's defense system. By the time that medieval loaf went into the oven, up to 90% of the phytic acid was destroyed. The bread was predigested before anyone took a bite. Now look at your supermarket loaf, mixed and baked in 3 hours. The bacteria never even wake up. The phytic acid, still fully active. Every slice you eat is dumping anti-nutrients directly into your digestive system. Medieval peasants ate predigested food. You're eating raw seed defense mechanisms that your body was never designed to handle. But wait, it gets worse. Everyone blames gluten. The doctors, the diet books, and they're half right. The problem isn't gluten itself. It's what happens when gluten doesn't get broken down before you eat it. Gluten is a family of proteins, complex chains called glutenins and gliadins. In medieval bread, during those 12 to 24 hours of fermentation, bacteria systematically broke these protein chains into smaller, simpler fragments that your digestive enzymes could actually process. Think of gluten as a chain-link fence. Your stomach can't cut through it, but fermentation is like someone showing up with bolt cutters hours before you eat, snipping the chains into manageable pieces. Modern bread? No fermentation, no breakdown. You're swallowing intact protein chains that your digestive system has to fight. And there's a specific fragment, a gliadine sequence scientists call 33-mer. This protein fragment is almost indestructible. Your digestive enzymes can't touch it. It passes through your stomach completely intact. When it hits your intestinal wall, your immune system goes insane. Research published in the Journal of Proteome Research found this 33-mer fragment triggers severe inflammatory responses. It increases intestinal permeability, what people call leaky gut. Here's what that means. Your intestinal wall is supposed to be a selective barrier. It lets nutrients through, keeps toxins and bacteria out. But when the 33-mer damages this barrier, suddenly partially digested food particles, bacteria, and toxins start leaking into your bloodstream. Your immune system detects these invaders. It launches a full-scale attack. Inflammation spreads system-wide. You feel it as bloating, brain fog, joint pain, chronic fatigue, anxiety, skin problems, autoimmune symptoms. All because the gluten never got broken down. Medieval peasants ate gluten every single day, 3 pounds of it. But their bread was fermented so long that the gluten was transformed into something completely different by the time they swallowed it. The bread you buy isn't transformed, it's raw, and your gut is paying the price. But even if bakeries started fermenting bread tomorrow, there's another problem. The wheat itself is wrong. 1960, Norman Borlaug develops semi-dwarf wheat. Shorter stalks, higher yields, disease-resistant. He wins the Nobel Prize, the Green Revolution. It fed millions. But this new wheat was bred for one thing only: maximum yield per acre. Not nutrition, not digestibility, yield. Medieval wheat varieties like einkorn and emmer had simple genetic structures. Einkorn has 14 chromosomes. Modern bread wheat, 42 chromosomes. That genetic complexity came with a cost nobody talked about. The gluten structure changed. Modern wheat contains gliadin proteins that are structurally different from ancient varieties. The University of Kansas found that modern wheat triggers significantly higher immune responses than heritage wheat. Your body doesn't recognize it as the same food, because it's not. Then there's how it's grown. Medieval wheat grew in fields enriched with manure and crop rotation, clean soil, no chemicals, harvested by hand, stored in dry barns. Modern wheat, it's doused with pesticides throughout its entire growth cycle. But the most disturbing practice happens right before harvest. It's called pre-harvest desiccation. 2 weeks before harvest, farmers spray entire wheat fields with glyphosate, Roundup, the same chemical you use to kill weeds in your driveway. This kills the wheat plant, dries it out, makes harvesting faster and more uniform. The problem? Glyphosate residue ends up in the grain. Studies have found glyphosate in over 70% of non-organic wheat products. Glyphosate doesn't just sit there. It actively destroys your gut microbiome. It kills the beneficial bacteria that help you digest food and regulate your immune system. The World Health Organization classifies it as a probable human carcinogen, so modern bread hits you with a triple threat: genetically altered wheat your body doesn't recognize, glyphosate that murders your gut bacteria, and zero fermentation to break any of it down. Medieval bread had none of these problems. Zero. Now we come to how the wheat gets milled, and this is where they stripped away everything valuable. Medieval mills were powered by water or wind. Massive stone wheels turned slowly, grinding the grain with gentle pressure. This process generated almost no heat. The wheat kernel stayed completely intact. The bran, the germ, the endosperm all ground together. That meant fiber. Healthy fats from the wheat germ, rich in vitamin E and omega-3s, B vitamins, minerals like magnesium, selenium, zinc, all present, all alive, all still bioactive. Modern roller milling, introduced in the 1870s, destroyed everything. Steel rollers, spinning at high speed and high temperature. They strip away the bran and germ entirely because the oils in the germ go rancid, shortening shelf life. Bad for profits, so they remove it. What's left? Pure white endosperm, basically pure starch and damaged protein, nothing else. Then they bleach it, chlorine gas, benzoyl peroxide, to make it whiter, prettier, more marketable. What you buy as enriched flour is flour that's been stripped of 80% of its nutrients, then injected with synthetic vitamins just to meet minimum legal requirements. It's nutritionally bankrupt. Stone-ground medieval flour was coarser, darker. It took longer to digest. It released energy slowly over hours. It kept you full through a 14-hour workday. Modern roller-milled flour is so fine, so powdery, that your body absorbs it like pure sugar. The glycemic index of white bread is 75. That's higher than table sugar at 65. You're eating a candy bar disguised as bread. Your pancreas responds by dumping insulin. Your blood sugar spikes, then crashes. You're hungry again in an hour. Over years, this cycle destroys your insulin sensitivity and leads straight to type 2 diabetes. Medieval bread, with its intact fiber and slow fermentation, had a much lower glycemic response. It provided sustained energy. No spikes, no crashes, real fuel. In 2014, Italian researchers took people with severe irritable bowel syndrome, people who couldn't eat modern bread without excruciating pain, bloating, digestive chaos. They switched them to bread made from ancient einkorn wheat, stone-milled, naturally fermented for 24 hours using traditional sourdough methods. The results? 80% reported significant improvement, less bloating, less pain, better digestion. The wheat wasn't the problem, the processing was. Another study from the University of Florence compared blood sugar responses: einkorn bread versus modern bread. Identical portion sizes. The einkorn bread produced significantly lower glucose and insulin spikes. Why? Because the flour was stone ground, preserving fiber and nutrients. Because the bread was fermented, breaking down anti-nutrients. Because the wheat itself was genetically simple. Everything medieval bakers did naturally, by instinct and tradition, science now confirms was correct. And today, there's a quiet revolution happening. Small bakeries across Europe and North America are reviving heritage wheat. They're stone milling flour. They're fermenting dough for 24 hours or longer. Their customers, many who thought they could never eat bread again, are discovering they can. Not because gluten was never the problem, but because modern industrial processing created a problem that didn't exist for 6,000 years. Let's look at the timeline. Because the pattern is unmistakable. For 6,000 years, humans ate bread without widespread digestive epidemics. Then, 1870s, Roller milling strips nutrients. 1950s, dwarf wheat replaces heritage varieties. 1961, Chorleywood eliminates fermentation. 1990s, glyphosate becomes standard, and the diseases explode. Since 1960, type 2 diabetes up 700%. Celiac disease up 400% since the 1950s. Inflammatory bowel disease now affects 1 in 100 people. Non-celiac gluten sensitivity, a condition that barely existed before 1980, now affects millions. The food industry will tell you it's because you're sedentary, because you eat too much, because you lack willpower, because your body is defective. But medieval peasants ate 70% of their calories from bread, 3 pounds every single day. And they didn't have diabetes epidemics. They didn't have autoimmune crises. They didn't have digestive diseases destroying their quality of life. The difference wasn't their activity level. It was the food. The industry optimized bread for shelf life, not health. For profit margins, not nutrition. For factory efficiency, not digestibility. They removed everything that made bread food and replaced it with chemicals to extend shelf life and cut costs. They bred wheat for maximum yield, with zero consideration for how your body would process it. And when millions of people started getting sick, when the digestive epidemic became impossible to ignore, the industry blamed you. You're gluten intolerant, you're sensitive, you have a condition, your body is broken. No. You're reacting normally to an abnormal food. Your body is working exactly as designed. It's rejecting an industrial product that shouldn't exist. Medieval bread didn't need warning labels. It didn't come with side effects. It was food. What's on your supermarket shelf is a manufactured product, and your gut knows the difference. Want to eat bread that doesn't destroy your digestion? You have options. Real options. First, find bakers using heritage wheat and traditional methods. Look for einkorn, emmer, or spelt. Make sure it's stone ground. Make sure it's naturally fermented for at least 12 hours, ideally 24. These bakers are rare, but they exist. Farmers markets, specialty bakeries, some ship nationwide. Yes, it's expensive, $7 to $10 a loaf instead of $3. But compare that cost to your doctor visits, your supplements, your medications for digestive problems caused by fake bread. Second, make it yourself. Buy heritage wheat flour. Start a sourdough culture. Here's how medieval bakers did it, and you can do it tonight. Mix rye flour and water into a stiff ball about the size of your fist. Doesn't need to be perfect, just firm enough to hold shape. Bury that ball deep in a container of flour. The flour keeps it cool, dark, protected. Wait 24 hours. Dig it out. It should smell like overripe fruit. Sweet, slightly alcoholic. That smell is bacteria working. That's real fermentation breaking down the compounds that cause digestive problems. Dissolve that fermented ball in warm water. Use the liquid to start your bread dough. Before baking, pinch off a small piece. Roll it into a ball. Bury it again. That's your starter for next week. Keep it alive. Feed it weekly. Some sourdough starters have been kept alive for over 100 years, passed down through generations like a family heirloom. After your first attempt, your starter might smell weird, like feet or nail polish. That's normal. The bacteria are fighting for dominance. Keep going. By week 2, it'll smell pleasantly sour and fruity. The bread will rise reliably. If you mess up, start again. Flour is cheap. Your health isn't. Third option, reduce bread entirely. Medieval peasants ate bread because wheat was cheap and calorie-dense. You have options they didn't. Oats, quinoa, rice, properly prepared. You can get nutrition without the inflammatory load, but here's the thing. The point isn't to live exactly like medieval peasants. The point is to recognize they had something we lost. Their bread was real food, yours isn't. If this video opened your eyes to what they've done to your food, hit that like button right now. Subscribe because we're digging up forgotten knowledge the food industry desperately wants buried. knowledge about how food used to nourish instead of harm. Share this with someone who thinks they're gluten intolerant. Send it to anyone who's been told their body is the problem when it's the food that's broken. The medieval baker with his wooden trough and his 24-hour fermentation wasn't primitive. He was working with a system perfected over thousands of years. A system that prioritized digestion, nutrition, and human health over speed and profit. We traded that system for convenience. We bred wheat that yields more but nourishes less. We milled it in ways that destroy its nutritional value. We eliminated fermentation to save time. We added chemicals to mimic freshness. We sprayed it with carcinogens to make harvest more efficient. And now millions suffer bloating, inflammation, brain fog, fatigue, autoimmune disease, digestive destruction, all because we stopped making bread and started manufacturing an industrial product that behaves in your body like poison. The solution isn't complicated. Slow fermentation, heritage wheat, stone milling, the same methods used successfully for 6,000 years. Medieval bread was food. Your supermarket loaf is a science experiment. The choice is yours. The knowledge was never lost. It was just buried under decades of industrial optimization and corporate profit. And every time you choose real bread over industrial imitation, you reclaim your health and a piece of ancient wisdom that still works. Subscribe. Let's keep digging up what they buried.